She's a 16-year-old Arab mare, and she's on about I think the last time I trimmed her feet was maybe 2.5 weeks ago. So this trim will show 2.5 weeks of growth. You have to account for the wear that she gets in this track system. So what you're looking at is kind of what's left over after my last trim. And she's typically kept on a 1 to 3 week trim. So this is cumulative over 12 years. I'm going to start with a frog, and I just take the hard stuff right off the frog and find the shape of the live frog underneath so it's comfortable for her to put weight on the back of her foot. For her heel first landing and to keep the majority of her weight in the back of the foot all the time. That's what develops the soft tissues. Her heels don't need anything hardly, that's about it. They self-maintain, and they have for about 8 years. Never had to lower a heel on her for about that time. You can see there's about 3/8 of an inch of wall. Now I'm just going to take it right to the peripheral edge of her sole plane. I don't leave it any higher than that because I want the peripheral edge of the sole plane to be the load bearing, because that's where I believe it's supposed to load bear. You can see I can get these bars by following that edge of the frog. And that's just what she would have done if she was out on varied terrain trimming her own feet. Right there, what I just did there. Now I'm just taking the outer wall back. And do a little minimal bar trimming here to get it to down to the sole plane. This mare was in shoes from the time she was 3 till she was 5. So she doesn't have the best frog in the world, but it's healthy, and she's got great caudal development, you can see. She's got about 5/8 of an inch of true concavity. It's from her peripheral edge of the sole plane, not with the wall included, but if you look down in there, you can see how much light there is in that bowl. And that's not carved. That's been there for years. That's all I've ever done is taken these bars down. And that's her true sole thickness. So she probably has about 5/8 of an inch of sole thickness. Well, here I'm measuring the collateral groove depth here, the deepest part with this. You can see the grooves that are put on that knife. It's just a serrated edge. Right. But I just measured to which groove I go to the deepest part, come back. It's at that edge, and it's got just ahead of it there. So this heel is a 1/16 of an inch longer than that here, further from the coffin bone, from the back of the coffin bone than that heel. So that's my...
So you'll take that one down.
So yeah, so this one I'll take down 1/16 of an inch. I don't think that, some people don't think that matters that much, but 1/16 of an inch at the ground equates to 2 inches at the wither. Okay, so if I put her foot down, she's standing on she would have been, before I took that down, she'd have been standing on a penny. A penny's width, or height.
That's correct.
Right, okay, so if you put a builder's level vertically and plumb in a door jamb that was perfectly level, and you slid a penny under the inside edge here, it would move the top of the level at 4 feet away 2 inches.
That's
what happens to their feet when they're 1/16 of an inch off. Now that's on hard surfaces, but even on soft surfaces, there's still margin of error. There's still compensation. So the trick to this whole thing is to have this leg not compensate anywhere. It takes a while to get to that on a horse. She's been trimmed this way for 11 years, going on 12 years. But you can't stop there. If that frog isn't perfectly comfortable with this low of a heel, she'll put her weight out on the toe, and then that toe will stretch from here to here, and you'll never realize why you're not getting rid of the dish on the front, but it's because the back of the foot's not comfortable. So then come in here, and I kind of rasp the frog smooth down to its live plane, and now it's soft like a tire, like tire rubber. That's comfortable to stand on. It has good shock absorber. Good shock absorption, I'd say. This heel I'm not lowering. I'm pulling that. I'm just taking that corner off the back, so it doesn't develop. I want her weight bearing in the center of that heel purchase. I don't want that. There's not supposed to be a hook on the back. So it looks like I've brought it down to this one, but I haven't.
You're just taking off that edge.
I'm just taking off that edge.
So the devil's in the details. Here.
Exactly. They feel it. They're kind of relying on us to see it. I'm taking these bars down to match this sole plane right here, that bowl. I'm not going deeper than that. Same thing over here. You can see there's a little overgrown bar there. I'm just taking that edge off, but I'm using that edge of the sole for my template, to get my angle right. Okay. This frog is in good shape. There's not a lot of dead stuff on it, so I'm only taking a few little things off there. The next thing I'm going to do is she's got about 3/8 of an inch of, about a 1/2 inch of wall, but it's not this way, it's kind of flared out that way. So I'm just going to take it at about a 45-degree angle to the peripheral edge of the sole plane. A lot of people like the way that foot looks, that wall looks there, and they think that the wall is supposed to stand up the horse, but it's not. The peripheral edge of the sole plane is supposed to be where the weight is, and specifically in 4 points, in the heel purchases and the toe pillars. So here I'm just beveling the outer wall, which is the dark part. The white is the inner wall. I'm beveling the outer wall at a steeper angle than the inner wall, because I'm going to come back here and take it off like this. Okay, I think that just for my own experience, with the rasps, one bit of information, advice that I got years ago was not to save money on rasps. When it becomes hard work, give it away to somebody else. If it's learning or something, that's not good. But if you're doing 10 horses a day or 15 horses a day and you're trying to get money out of a rasp, you're wearing yourself out. So I go through about a rasp a day. It's $30, but I feel a lot better at the end of the day than I would have if I was trying to save money and get a few days out of it. Because the concavity kind of gives you an idea of what the sole thickness is. And she has a nice bowl. And this is all, like I said, I don't trim this. This is just her sole, and I just keep the walls down so this doesn't so that the peripheral edge maintains contact and the sole thickness maintains the same, so she has no reason to get. If I left this too long, those bars would overgrow the sole, and the sole would get thin and retain a lot of the dead stuff. And this is all live sole right there. But if you're rasping from the top to get rid of your flare, it's always going to come back. So I'll start over on this one. You can see there's very little deviation, and I'm just taking this might make my trim last a couple more days, but really it's just smoothing the top out to make it look pretty. But that's all the top dressing that I'll do on a foot. Because there's a little retained sole right here, so that would throw off my measurement.
So you need to spot that before you measure.
You have to see that. So what I'm trimming to is live sole here. I showed you on the other video, I showed you how to measure.
Correct.
I don't measure every single time. I measure when I'm not sure about something. Or just as like, I haven't measured this for a while, let's see where we're at. So again, here I've got I use the serrated edge of this knife to take a measurement, and I find the deepest point of the collateral groove, and I find out which tooth that's on. Transfer that over to right where the apex of that curve is on the inside of the bar, and the contact point is on the heel. So I bring that over, and I've got that little, it's the last tooth on that serration. I come over here, there's a little squared off tooth right there. I come over here, and this one is just ahead of the squared off tooth, so that heel is a little bit taller. If I look here, you look, there's a little bit of light between the frog and this part of the frog and the rasp. I have room to take that down. That's as far as I can go. If I take this down further than that, it's going to make too much frog pressure, and she won't like it. This horse is base narrow, so this heel tends to be taller. And this one tends to be leaned on, so it gets worn more. But she's really pretty balanced for as base narrow as she was years ago. So I think it changes throughout the year. There's seasons where they grow fast. This right now it's hot and humid. They grow faster than say in the summer when it's wet and cold. I don't know that for a fact, just something I kind of tend to notice. I'd also, but I think that an average amount of growth for a horse at any time is about 3/8 of an inch a month, maybe. Half inch maybe some other times, but between that and that comes out to about a millimeter every 3 days, I think, or a 1/16 of an inch every 4 to 5 days. Which is a lot of growth if you remember what I said about the penny and the level. So they can get out quick, and they rely on balance. And if they were self-maintaining, they wouldn't need us to do that. It'd be every day of consistency. They'd wear that, it would match their movement, but those heels would be level to their coffin bone. 12 years, she still has something to say about, what I am doing. So it's really, guided by her approval. And she's pretty picky. So I'll do this one a little bit different. I'm just going to do, because there's not a whole lot of growth, so I'll wear out my rasp a little bit here. I always like to take just so you can see this can be done, you don't need the knife, the rasp, and the nippers. And I'm going to start, you can see there's a little bevel right here where this is soft and that's hard. It looks like a flat tire almost, and this is supposed to be tough like tire rubber. But that accumulates up
this is a couple weeks of accumulation, there's already started to be some wear, but there's like a blob of dead frog right there that's hard as a rock, pushing against this softer stuff. Just makes her go out on her toes. She's still using the back, but if that's left alone too long, she'll just go directly out to her toes and her heels will get long and I'll lose everything I did over time. So when they're trimmed this frequently, you can reach everything on in that foot. So I'll do this whole trim right here with just the rasp. And that's the first thing I'm going to do, is make that smooth so it gets down to the good, comfortable stuff for her. And then her heels are, again, there's nothing to do on her heels. She's doing that herself. And she's got about 3/8 of an inch of wall that I'll bevel off there down to the sole plane, to the peripheral edge of the sole plane. This is typically what I do when I'm down here feeding. I'll have a rasp nearby, and if I see something that needs to be done, sometimes it's just 1 foot on one horse, and I'll leave, and other times it'll be 1 foot on one horse and 2 feet on another, or whatever, but and this is another real important part here. Now that I have these, I've got some quarters there that I can work and get the sides of these frogs right here all the way down without getting my knife out. I can bend my rasp all the way over there and catch the bar in the inside of that frog right there without ever using my knife on that foot. And then the only thing I would have to do is these bars. It's not necessary today, but I can't let them accumulate. You see, they're not really making contact with the ground, but they need to be addressed. Just wouldn't have to do it today if I didn't have the time or whatnot. So that's more of where I want them to be, and that'll all grow back within 2 weeks. So I'll be right back to the same thing that I just took off. Okay.